morning, afternoon, evening, whatever day it is you're watching this. This is your first lecturette. You give it a title, whatever you want to call it. It'll be listed in resources in your course. These lectures are short. There will be several during the week. I try to keep them under 15 minutes. Sometimes I get a little caught up in the material. This is the area that I did my master's degree work in, so it's near and dear to my heart. But with all that being said, these lectures at sometimes will not necessarily be in concert with the chapters in your book, and it's intentional. This is extra added material. I may or may not ask you questions from the lectures. And the reason is because at any given moment, I'm not too sure what I want to emphasize. And I like it that way. I don't like to have a super structured classroom setting. I like a little laid back kind of, hey, let's learn this stuff. It's really cool stuff. And I've always taught that way. So don't think that when you are watching these lectures that the material is always going to be in concert with what your reading material assignment is for that week. Hope that makes sense. So let's get started. We're talking about the study of development in a human being. Occasionally there will be references made to non-humans, but mostly we're worried about us folk that are humans. So let's begin at the basics. What's a definition of developmental, the developmental process? And it's a real short definition: scientific study of processes of change and stability throughout the lifespan. Lifespan is sometimes a bit controversial, but not always. For example, some people say the lifespan only begins at birth and then continues forth until the end of days, whenever you sign out for your last, sign out on your last day. And we don't know when that's going to come. So that's one view. That's one perception. I'm talking about that word perception shortly. And other people say, no, development begins, lifespan begins at conception. So you kind of have to make up your own mind. I don't have a direct answer to give you because you saw how short the definition was: scientific study of processes of change and stability throughout the lifespan. So does it matter? Well, some cases it does. We don't address politics or religion particularly in this class anyway, although it's a lurking thing. We're not talking about things that are hot button topics really at the moment. Abortion, for example, or things like that. We're talking about development. So that's what we're going to stick with. If you have questions, you can email them to me. Or for those of you that will be attending in class, you can ask me then, and I'll address those. As a matter of fact, while I'm talking about that, real quickly, I will be, first day of in-class meeting, I will bring a list of questions with me, or a list of topics, and we will divide into groups, and I will give each group a topic to develop some sort of an explanation or thought process or whatever the case is. It's more or less a Socratic method of meeting. We're not doing instructional stuff in our in-class meetings. So be prepared for that, because I'm going to carry you the first day. The next time we meet, I'm going to ask you to develop topics from the readings. So we're going to be working with this together. I won't be lecturing in class. That's not what the classroom time is set aside for. Your lectures are right here. they're virtual. Okay, if you have questions about that, email me or ask me in class. And away we go again. Sorry about all those. So, scientific study, blah, 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 that I just told you about. Development is systematic. It's coherent. It's organized. Development is adaptive. It deals with internal and external conditions of existence. And it's horizontal and vertical. Okay, that's an important thing to understand. Because most people, when they think about development, they think about development as like a staircase. Okay, I'm at the bottom rung, birth or conception. There you go. There's the question. I'm at the first step, and then I go up a step, and I gain mentally and physically. And then I proceed to the next step. Well, yeah, that happens. That's why we say it's both horizontal and vertical. But we're worried more actually at this moment with horizontal, because we're talking about adaptive, and we're talking about change, and we're talking about systems. So I start at point A, my lifespan begins point A, and I'm just going to say conception, just for the sake of simplicity. So at conception, the egg and the sperm get together, and boom, here's this little thingy that develops, and then it grows and grows. All right, that's physical. So we're going through a physical change, and then there's birth. Now we've reached a level of development where we have cognitive and we have physical. And we're just moving along this continuum, this horizontal line from A to Z. What is Z? It's death. So conception / birth to death. That's a horizontal line. Are there vertical movements on that line? Yes. Because, for instance, from 1.5 to 3, there are things that are happening to me cognitively and physically. I'm still on that horizontal line. I'm traveling from point A to point Z, but segments are on that line. We call that stage development. We'll be talking about that later. So here I go. Stage 1, let's pretend, a birth to 2 years of age. And we'll be talking about theories like Piaget and Vygotsky and people like that, Erickson and people like that. What's happening in that age range? That's a vertical thing. Still on the horizontal line, but we're going this way too. There's some things happening here too. So you're moving along that line and you're gaining some things. Hope that makes sense for you. That's why we say it's both horizontal and vertical. Development is lifelong, and it can be studied scientifically. So you may be saying, well, wait a minute. I gain knowledge, and I gain at some point physically, I'm grown. Yeah. Are you gaining knowledge up to the age of 25 and then boom, that shuts down? No. You're gaining knowledge all throughout your lifespan. Am I developing physically? Listen, development is gains and loss. So yeah, I'm developing physically. Am I 80 and looking the same as I was when I was 20? No. Things change physically. That's development. Does that make sense? Change. Put that word change in your mind. Very important word. So lifelong process. Development is a lifelong process. And obviously we can study it scientifically or it wouldn't be a science. What do we include in this? We establish norms for behavior at certain ages. That's based on research throughout the world, all humans. So it's titled Descriptions. Establish norms for behavior at certain ages. Explanations. We have knowledge that's obtained through these studies. We have predictions. That means likelihoods of what should occur at a certain age. And then interventions. This would be in the realm of like education or helping a child learn to walk or whatever the case is. That's an intervention. That's an aid in the developmental process. If you have questions as we go through these things, jot them down and email these things to me. Now, here's a list of words. Developmental psychology influences. These are the things on this list that have to do with your cognitive development and your physical development. Things that will interact with you naturally in some cases not so naturally, and make a developmental happening happen. I hope that makes sense. So here we go. What's this list include? Psychology. Yay. Yeah, psychology. What's psychology got to do with anything? Well, we'll talk about that later. Sociology. That's pretty plain and simple. Interaction with others. Anthropology, the study of humans. Biology. Genetics. Ugh. Boy, what a discussion that can be had there, and we will. Family science, as in genetic traits and family relations, something that a lot of people don't even think about. Education. You guys are getting an education. That's going to change you developmentally in the cognitive realm. It can change you in the physical realm. You may be taking a PE course or whatever. Maybe you're an athlete. I was a college athlete at the University of Florida. That changes you because you have to work out. Pretty simple. History. Again, developmental influences. And lastly, and not least, medicine. Medications become way more important in later ages. Maybe you got a condition as a young person and you have to take some sort of a medication. Here's some considerations. Nature, nurture. Probably one of the bigger questions in the world of science. What's natural and what's learned? Nature equals unlearned. Nurture equals learned. Let me say it again. Nature is unlearned. That's biology. That's instinct. That's natural. Nurture, what you're taught. What are the influences from the outside, not artificial? Nurture. How do I make decisions? Do I make a decision to become an alcoholic? The question would be genetic. Does nature control my decision? Maybe. Do I see family members that are heavy drinkers and I want to do that? And so I try it. That's nurture. You can apply nature nurture to almost everything. Critical thinking. This is important in all science. A critical thinker is an open-minded person. Open-mindedness, however, does not guarantee critical thinking. You can be open-minded and still maintain biases. If you're truly thinking critically, you remove those biases. You open yourself to the possibility that some of your ideas might not be right. So you get the biases out of the way. That's critical thinking. And the last thing I'll talk about right now is called perception. That's an interpretation. That's your personal interpretation based on a lot of nurture. Little bit of nature, whole lot of nurture. So think about these things that we've covered in this 14 minutes and see what you think. If you want to put together questions or discussions based on what you've heard in this very short lecture, by all means bring that to class, because that's what we're going to be doing, as I said earlier. We're not going to be doing a lecture like this. We're going to be talking about junk. I'm not going to stand up there with a PowerPoint and all that junk and you take notes. Take notes you want to. I'd encourage you to take notes, but it won't be the routine traditional lecture situation. It will be a discussion. So this is just some information that you may want to include in any questions or comments you might have. All right, 15 minutes, pretty good, huh? Talk to you soon.